Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining the Megaport live tech drop-in today. It's a global weekly webinar that we're running in terms of basically just an informal tech chat. We do have a topic, but we're happy to answer questions that you may have which aren't included. So we are running it globally. This is the APAC session. We also run it in North America and Europe. So like I said, it is an informal webinar. It's different to the specific webinars that we run for targeted topics. So we're just going to change this up each week. And it's run by solution architects at Megaport. So, and we're going to do a different topic each week. So today's topic is cloud egress charges. So we're going to talk about cloud and how they charge egress in terms of data transfer and how Megaport can help reduce those charges. So we're going to talk a little bit. I've got a few slides. We're going to go through those. I'm going to show you some information, specific cloud provider docs on how to work those charges out. And if we have time, I'm going to just do a demo of our multi-cloud product. And hopefully at the end, we're going to have maybe a little bit of time left over just to do some live Q&A. But if you do have questions, just throw them in the Q&A section and I'll check in every few minutes to see whether we've got any questions. So just about myself. So my name's Mark Austin. I'm a pre-sales solution architect at Megaport. I'm based in Sydney, been at Megaport for around 3 years. You can reach me at mark.austin@megaport.com, and that's my LinkedIn profile there. If you want to screenshot that, you can add me on LinkedIn. If you do have any questions after the webinar, just reach out and we can chat or set up a session to walk through anything you like. So cloud egress charges, what are they? So a cloud service provider like AWS, Azure, Google, Oracle, they will charge you per gigabyte generally when you move data out of the cloud provider. So you may have compute in a VPC, you may have storage like in AWS S3. So if you want to move that data out to somewhere else, be it to another cloud provider or to on-prem infrastructure, you need to pay per gigabyte. And there are different charging models. So the internet will have a specific price. It's generally a lot higher than the private on-ramp type of connection. That will be generally at a lower cost. So when I say private on-ramp, that is, for example, AWS Direct Connect, Azure Express Route, Oracle Fast Connect, Google Partner Interconnect. So they're like the 4 main cloud providers, and they all have their own private connectivity that you can connect your corporate network to. Now, what Megaport does is provide you that access to that on-ramp. So you can see there on the left, you've got the on-ramp connecting into the VPC. Megaport is connected to all of these on-ramps globally. We connect you to the on-ramp, saving you having to connect physically and directly to the cloud provider. So we do that in around, we can connect you in around 850 data centers globally. It's on-demand self-service portal running within minutes. So a little bit about how to calculate these charges. So looking at this example here, just internet. So we just want to move data from Azure in Singapore to AWS in Singapore using the internet. So how do we do that? So well, what are the charges basically, if you want to work that out? So let's have a look here at bandwidth pricing from Azure. So internet bandwidth pricing. So if we search, we select currency US dollars here and scroll down a little bit, you can see here internet egress routed via Microsoft Global Network, or internet egress routed via just the local ISP. So let's have a look at that one. That is the lower cost one. So we're looking at an example for Singapore. So from Asia, which includes Singapore, you can see here there's a tiered structure to move data out of Azure over the internet. First 100 gigabytes is free, then you jump into the next 10 terabytes, the next 40. And you can see here, that 10 terabyte block is 11 cents USD per gigabyte. Okay, so we look at how AWS charges that, and we look at the example for Amazon EC2, and we select data pricing here. So data transfer pricing, looking at Asia Pacific Singapore, you can see they have similar structure to Azure. So the first 100 gigabytes is free ingress, and then the first 10 terabytes is 12 cents per gigabyte. Okay, and then they've got tiers upwards. So that's how you calculate how much it's going to cost you over the internet. And that may be, you know, if you're doing it over a VPN, there will be additional costs for a VPN as well between the two cloud providers. So that will give you some idea on how to calculate. So I jump back to the slides here and have a look at this example. I've got one here for 300 terabytes from Azure going just egress over the internet. In this example, it's going to AWS Singapore. You can see here I've calculated 300 terabytes in terms of the tiers and what that costs. So in total, to move 300 terabytes out, it's 20,000 USD. So it's a fair chunk just to move 300 terabytes out of Azure. So I'll just see whether there's any questions on this. If anyone's got any questions, reach out. That doesn't look like there is currently. Nope. Okay. So we'll keep going. So how does Megaport solve this? So with Megaport, we can offer that connectivity between the clouds privately. So multi-cloud connectivity, and the product we use for that multi-cloud connectivity is called the Megaport Cloud Router. So for short, we call it MCR. So it is a virtual router. We have around 90 locations globally that we offer this product, and it runs on Megaport compute in a data center close to the cloud on-ramps. You can deploy it in 4 different speed tiers, so 1 gig, 2.5, 5, and 10. That essentially determines the cost of the product, the base product. And then you need to build out connectivity. So you can see here, moving to the right, the connectivity, we use what's called a virtual cross connect. And that is just a logical connection between 2 endpoints on the Megaport network. So in this case, it's between the Megaport Cloud Router, and you can see on the right here, it's connecting through to the cloud providers. So in our example, we'll look at AWS and Azure. Okay, so this connection here is to the cloud provider private on-ramp. So with AWS, that'll be direct connect. Azure will be express route. So that's our multi-cloud product, and that's how we connect 2 or more clouds together. So just jumping through to the example here. So this is how we construct the multi-cloud connectivity. So we use the Megaport Cloud Router in the middle. We use the virtual cross connects to connect to the cloud provider on-ramp. So AWS Direct Connect, Azure Express Route. So how do we determine, first of all, the egress charges for these private on-ramps? So again, looking at the cloud provider documentation, if we look at, and you can just Google these, Azure Express Route pricing, and you'll hit this doc. And if we scroll down, you need to select your currency and a zone. Now, I know Singapore's zone 2 just because I've done this before, but you know, the US is zone 1, and I'll show you how to work out the zone in a sec. But if we scroll down here, it gives you the costing for the express route circuit itself. And you can see here, outbound data transfer pricing. So zone 2, which is Singapore, the outbound data transfer per gigabyte for express route in Singapore is 5 cents per gigabyte USD. Okay, so we look back at the internet rate for that. You know, the first 10 terabytes there is 11 cents, so more than double. Okay. So that's for Azure, how you work out that price. Now for AWS Direct Connect, if you Google AWS Direct Connect pricing, you can scroll down and it will show you a big table of their data transfer out pricing. We're looking here, we want to go from Asia Pacific, so Singapore to Singapore. Okay, so we just match this in the middle here. You can see there 4 cents per gigabyte in terms of moving data out of AWS. So that will give you an indication of what it's going to cost. Now they don't, with the private on-ramps, Direct Connect and ExpressRoute, they don't tier the per gigabyte charge, it's the flat charge. So jumping back to I was going to show you the zones. So to work out the ExpressRoute zone, if you go to ExpressRoute documentation, there's a link here, providers by location. We can just scroll down on these and you will see the ExpressRoute location. If we scroll down to Singapore, it will show the zone, which is around here somewhere, Singapore. Okay, so you can see here, zone 2. So that's how you work out what zone you're in. Okay, so just having a look if there's any questions. No questions so far. If you have any questions, just chuck them in the Q&A box and we'll answer them. Okay, so how do you work out total cost for this? Okay, in terms of comparing it to using the internet. So remember with the Megaport Cloud Router, you're getting private, high-speed, high-performance, SLA-backed connectivity versus using the internet. So you're getting dedicated bandwidth allocation. So if you want 1 gig connectivity from Azure to AWS or another cloud provider, that is dedicated bandwidth for you versus using the internet, which is not guaranteed. So keeping that in mind and looking at the pricing, you can see here for 300 terabytes egress from Azure in Singapore, looking at total cost of that connection. So the ExpressRoute circuit itself is $436 and 300 terabytes egressing on ExpressRoute is 5 cents per gigabyte, so $15,000 roughly. So you're looking at a total there for that at $15,700. The Megaport component is shown here in the middle. So a 1 gig Megaport Cloud Router in Singapore will be $448. And the VXEs, the connections from the MCR to the on-ramps are $164 each for 1 gigabit per second. So a total there of $776 for the Megaport component. So it's very small in comparison to the cloud egress charge. And you can see here the ingress component into AWS. Like everything cloud, when you move data in, it's free. So 300 terabytes ingress is $0. We have the option with Megaport to connect to Direct Connect using what we call hosted VIF. So there's 2 types of connection. If you use hosted VIF, that's $0 charge on the AWS side. So nothing from AWS, which is pretty good. So all in all, you're looking at a total of $16,500 roughly US for that connection versus using the internet, which was $20,000. So a pretty big saving, and you're getting private, high performance, secure connectivity between the cloud providers. So just having a look here, nothing so far. So if you've got any questions, chuck them in and we'll answer those. Anything doesn't have to, if you just got a question on something else, Megaport, just throw it in there and we'll answer it. So looking at the next step, we're going to just do a live demo of how do you deploy this with Megaport. Okay, so just jumping into the Megaport portal, and you can create a Megaport account anytime you like and do the same thing and have a look at how it works. You just don't need to order anything, but you can build it out. So I'll just log in here, and you can see here, once you're in the Megaport portal, we have 3 buttons. So you can create a port in a data center. That assumes you've got a rack in a data center and you can plug that into your physical infrastructure in that DC. So around 850 data centers globally, you can do that. You can create a Megaport cloud router, which we just walked through what that looks like. And the last one there is create a Megaport virtual edge. So essentially, Megaport virtual edge provides you the ability to spin up a virtual network appliance from a number of different vendors, Cisco, FortiGate, Aruba, etc. And it runs on the same platform as the Megaport cloud router. And you can do the same thing. You can do multi-cloud connectivity. You can connect it to the internet to connect it to a internet-based SD-WAN network and have Megaport Virtual Edge as your cloud gateway. But we're not going to talk about that one today. We don't have enough time. So we're just going to look at the Megaport cloud router, which is essentially, a very simple offering from Megaport, which you can do cloud-to-cloud connectivity and drive the virtual router through our portal or through the API that we have or through Terraform. So there's a number of different ways you can deploy it and manage it. So looking at deploying a Megaport cloud router, we need to select the country and we'll look at Singapore. So you can see within Singapore, we have 6 locations that we have our compute sitting in. They're all equal, so you can just choose whatever one you like. You choose the rate limit in terms of the throughput, and this will determine the cost of the Megaport cloud router. You can deploy it with no term. So if you run it for 2 days and turn it off, we'll just charge you 2 days of that monthly charge, or you can term it for a discount and you can see the pricing there. Just need to put a name in, and you need to enter a BGP ASN. You can enter your own number, private number, or you can use our public ASN if you like. So that's all it takes to build the MCR. So I'm just going to go ahead and add that and order it. And that'll deploy within about 1 to 2 minutes and it's ready to use. So no questions as yet. So that's cool. If anyone's got any questions, just throw them in there. So that's deploying now in Singapore. So the next steps are to create the virtual cross connects. So we're going to create one to Azure Express Route and one to AWS Direct Connect. With Azure Express Route, I do need to create the Express Route circuit, which I did forget to do, but you can see me do that now.
Hey, Mark, it's
Yes.
Dave here. I might just jump in quickly and let our attendees know that it's only a small group today, so don't be shy if you've got any questions or comments. As Mark mentioned, it doesn't need to be related to the topic we're going through now. If it's anything Megaport or cloud connectivity, please unmute yourselves and ask a question or drop them in the chat. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm just going to create this express route in Singapore quickly, and you can see how easy that is to do. So you just need to select the provider, which is Megaport, of course. The peering location will be Singapore. And you can choose a bandwidth tier. So I'll just choose the lowest one here for the demo. And that is all, and we'll create this. And oh, I missed a bit of information here. Maybe. Naming issue. Okay. So that's going to go ahead and create in the background. And what I'm going to do here is you can see the Megaport cloud router in Singapore has completed its deployment. It is up. You can see their service is up. So I'm going to build out the AWS Direct Connect VXC. So you initiate that from the Megaport portal, and we push that through to AWS to your account using the AWS API. So it's completely automated end to end. And then you jump into the AWS console and accept the connection. and link it to your Direct Connect gateway, to your VPC, etc. But we drive the initial step through the portal here. So we're going to do hosted VIF. So remembering that is, you can see here, AWS port fee is included in the Megaport connection charge, and you can go all the way up to 5 gigabits per second. And within a metro, we just have two speed tiers in terms of pricing, up to 1 gig, then up to, in this case, up to 5 gig, or in general, we go up to 10, so two speed tiers. So we'll select hosted VIF, and we'll look for Singapore, and we'll choose an on-ramp in Singapore. So you can see there, we offer hosted VIF in 2 locations within Singapore, and these are the locations of the AWS Direct Connect Edge network that we are connected to. So we'll just give the virtual cross connector name, the rate limit. You can see here, it's limited to us to 1000 megabits per second because the MCR is a 1 gigabit per second MCR, but you can have up to 25 VXCs per MCR, and each one of those could be 1 gigabits per second. So you can oversubscribe in that way, but per VXC, you're limited to 1 gigabits per second. Or if you had a 10 gig MCR, you'd be limited to 10 gig per VXC. So you can select, again, for the VXC, you can select no term, or you can put it on a term, whatever works for you. And we'll just go ahead and enter the AWS account ID. So this would be your AWS account ID where your VPC lives. The Amazon ASN is the BGP ASN of either the direct connect gateway within Amazon, within AWS, or the virtual private gateway. So either one. We can enter BGP password in there, and the IP address for the subnet between the Megaport cloud router and the AWS Edge, be it the Direct Connect gateway or the virtual private gateway, whatever one you're using. So go ahead and add that VXC. And I did something wrong, so that's good. Let's go and have a look what I did wrong. And we'll step back through here. And I think I did this wrong. I gave it the same IP. So there you go. So Amazon will be .2, the MCR will be .1. So we push all of this information through to AWS to build the connection. Okay, so while that's deploying, let's go back to the Azure console and grab the key. Okay, so we've deployed the peering location Singapore at 50 megabits per second. We'll grab this key and let's build the VXC from the MCR to express route. Okay, and if anyone's got any questions, please reach out. Happy to cover anything.
Okay, hi Mark. We have a question.
Yep.
Okay, once the IP address and the BGP password are blank for the AWS connection, what will happen?
So you can leave it blank. You can leave the IP address information out and the password out, and AWS will allocate a subnet and they'll allocate a password, and we will automatically enter that into the MCR side of the connection. So you don't have to actually enter a subnet or password.
Oh, sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, Mark, we had a comment from Jason here, which is lovely. He said, when you explain things so clearly, it's hard to have questions. Thanks, Jason.
Okay. Cool. Easy to follow along. That's good. So, okay, so we've built out the AWS VXC. You can see here it is up. BGP is yet to come up because we haven't accepted it on the AWS side yet. So that's not going to come up until we do that. So let's just build out the express route side of the connection. So Microsoft Azure, we enter the key. We verify the key with Azure to find out where does this connection live. So it lives in Equinix SG1 and Equinix SG2, which is the Azure Express Route POP. And as part of ordering an express rate connection, you get two connections. You get a primary and secondary. So they are diverse. They land on separate Microsoft Edge devices. So you can build out two connections. You don't have the option to do one, so you just take the two. In this case, we'll just select the primary. And again, you can put a name in. We already know from the key it's 50 megabits per second. And you can put it on no term, or you can select a term for the VXC.
Hey, just quickly, sorry, Mark, I've got a question in the Q&A that's come through as well. I can read it out if you like. It is it cheaper to use Megaport when migrating data between regions as well? For example, AWS in Singapore to AWS in Sydney.
Yeah, that sort of depends. Basically, you can link the regions together using Megaport. You need to calculate the costs. So there's sort of two options. You can connect AWS and say Azure in Singapore together, and that will give you access to the global AWS network using the AWS backbone, or you can use Megaport to connect between Singapore and Sydney. And it's really just a matter of working out the costs and what works for you. So with AWS, you can look at what it costs per gigabyte to move that data across the backbone. So from Singapore, you can see here to Sydney, Australia. So down here, you're looking at a cost of 11 cents per gigabyte USD. So you're up there near internet per gigabyte charges to move that across their backbone. So depending on the speed you set between Singapore and Sydney, say with Megaport, that will determine the charge, and you can scale that up, move all your data across, and scale it down, or just build it, move your data and delete the Megaport component. So you just got to work through the costings on what you want to do, and we're happy to work through that with you. To reach out to us, and we can work through the design and costings. Okay, so just quickly, I'm just going to finish up this connection here. So with the Azure components, and order the VXC, and that'll build out the last step. There would be additional steps on the cloud provider side, which I won't go into today because we're out of time, but it's very simple, just linking it to the gateways within the cloud provider. And maybe that's something we can show in a future session, more focus on the cloud side of the connection. And you can see here that's being built within, so we built this within, say, 8 minutes or so. So a private, dedicated network between the cloud providers, high performance, dedicated bandwidth, SLA backed. So with our support team, they can help you out just by looking or clicking on the chat box here, and that will open up a chat directly to our support team. So it's fully supported by Megaport staff if you come across any issues. And I think we're just 1 minute over time. If anyone's got any questions before we finish up, please reach out and we will quickly answer those. If not, we appreciate you joining, and thanks for joining, and we will be running it next Friday. If you'd like to join, that'd be great.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Kimimoto. We are good. Oh, I think there's a question there, Mark, as well, by the looks of it. Just come in. Can I connect MCR to the internet, was the question.
Cool. So yes, you can. I'll quickly just show that if I can find my screen again. Okay. So get rid of a few boxes going on here. Okay. So looking at the MCR, just quickly, if you want it, so remembering you can build up to 25 connections from the MCR. You can just add another connection to not Singapore, because we don't offer internet for Singapore, but say it's in this one, if we find one, Tokyo. We offer internet in Australia, Europe, and the US. So this one here is in Brisbane. If we add a connection there, you can see there's a Megaport internet tile. You can choose the internet connection there and step through. We will allocate you a public IP to that MCR, and then it's connected to the internet. So yeah, that is supported in, like I said, Australia, Europe, and North America.
Awesome. I reckon we are done. Thank you again, Mark. Thank you, Kimimoto. That was awesome for our second Megaport Live Tech Drop-ins. We'll be here every Friday, same time, same place, same channel. You can watch it via LinkedIn live stream, or you can watch it directly via Zoom. Thanks again, Mark. Thank you, Kimimoto. Thank you to attendees. We will hopefully see you all again next week. Bye for now.
Thank you, guys. See you later.